Hi guys, perhaps I need a new segment called Caller of the Month because I haven't heard a good call like this in a long time. So a man called Andrew phoned the Matthew Wright show where he was talking about Nigel Farage and how Farage doesn't really care about immigration, but he knows that others do and he knows which buttons to press. Have a listen to this.
A significantly greater percentage of reform politicians commit crimes than migrants. So I'm pretty glad I don't live next to a hotel full of reform politicians. I don't believe that Nigel Farage gives a hoot about migration. The only thing he cares about is the fact that people whose amygdala isn't overridden by their frontal lobe are extremely easy to manipulate with the subject. And if his supporters think that a braying toff like Nigel Farage cares about them and would do anything for them if he got into power, I've got a bridge to sell them. You mentioned Question Time, where that Poundland Goebbels just ranting non-stop about the evils of immigration and what these people do without producing any real statistics, but just manufacturing an emotional response.
Well said, Andrew. If I met you, I'd buy you a pint. And he's completely correct. Like, what Farage has been doing for the last 20 odd years is tapping into the fears people have, exaggerating those fears. We've seen it on so many occasions. The Breaking Point pollster is probably the best example of that. Turkey is going to join the European Union, so we better get out before they do, because all these migrants are going to come across the channel and take over Britain. And he's still doing it. Remember, Brexit got across the line on the basis of immigration, and immigration was based on fear. Fear that Britain was going to change, that the fear that public services would be overrun, that the NHS would collapse unless the UK left the European Union. Farage, I've said before, and Andrew's completely correct here, he doesn't care about immigration, but he knows that other people do. And he knows which buttons to press. And it's fear. It's all driven by fear. Your community is changing. These immigrants are coming in. Immigrants are people. People commit crimes. You know, if Farage was honest, he would look at the crimes that are committed by everyone and say, we need to deal with the crimes committed by all, not just focusing on the crimes committed by foreigners or immigrants in particular. But it's not about being honest. It's about tapping into people's fears, because he knows that fear is a great driver when it comes to winning votes. It's easier to sell fear than it is to sell hope. You know, this is why it's so interesting to see Zach Polanski. He's on the opposite side of this. He's trying to sell hope. He's trying to sell a positive message. Farage is selling the negative message. Britain is falling apart. Crime is out of control. Terrorism is out of control. You're no longer safe to walk the streets. Women are no longer safe to leave their homes. This is what he's trying to sell, and it's very powerful. And he's been extremely successful in doing it. I'm not saying that he's not successful. He's really successful, because it's something embedded in us to be fearful of the other, to protect ourselves, to protect our communities. What needs to happen is there needs to be a robust pushback against this, because Farage doesn't care about immigration. He doesn't care about the working class. When it came to Brexit, he knew that immigration was a tool that would convince people to come out and vote for Brexit. But the goal of Brexit, of course, was to strip away protections for workers, the environment, for consumers. And when he talks about leaving the European Convention on Human Rights, of course, he's tapping into the fear of migrants coming over, committing crimes, and not being deported. When in reality, that's just a tool. The reality instead is that he wants to see the protections for British people within the ECHR removed. The right to freedom of expression in a situation where if Nigel Farage is Prime Minister and the UK is outside the ECHR, then people cannot protest. People cannot stand up to the government. Or, well, you can, but you'll be thrown in jail. And you will not have any recourse beyond the UK. It's not about I keep saying this, it's not about the rights, it's about the protection to those rights. Rights have no value unless they're enforced, unless there is a protection in place for them. So Farage is going to do this. He's going to ramp up the fear factor, and he has to do this. This is his only way really into power, apart from if the Labour government do not improve the situation for ordinary people. But his only real way is to ramp up the fear factor, create more and more fear within society, so that people are in a situation where they believe the only solution is somebody like Nigel Farage, a strong man, like Donald Trump in the US or Orban in Hungary. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.